Look, we get it, Tiger fans. We know the baseball season can be a grind. Luckily, when you're ready to trade hot dogs for tailgates, we've got you covered with Litterbox, a Detroit Lions podcast. It's the same unfiltered Detroit sports talk you get here, just with more biting kneecaps and fewer bullpen meltdowns. So when Sunday rolls around, don't just pace around like AJ Hinch waiting for a reliever. Fire up Litterbox, a Detroit Lions podcast, wherever you're listening now, and roar with us through the NFL season.
Billy P. from the D and Chet here. Thank you all for listening to Litterbox, a Detroit Tigers podcast. If you enjoy the show, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. We love hearing your thoughts, too. Leave us a rating or just drop us a comment. Please let us know what you think and whatever you want us to cover next. Your feedback really helps us grow and keeps the Tigers talk rolling all season long. Go Tigers, and thank you.
You're listening to The Litterbox, a Detroit Tigers podcast, with your hosts, Chet West and Bill Patterson. Welcome back to Litterbox, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I am Chet West. The gentleman across from me here is Bill Patterson, Billy P. from the D. And we just watched our Tigers end their 2025 season in a fashion that was somewhat predictable to a degree. I sat there at some point in the game thinking to myself, when will the bullpen finally relent and blow this thing? And as the innings started to progress, I kind of thought, are we going to see Tommy Canley eventually? And Bill, we got Tommy Canley in the 15th inning of one of the longest games I think I've seen in quite some time. And he did not disappoint. Your thoughts?
If one single game could ever encapsulate the season that was the 2025 Tigers, it was exactly what happened last night. It got off to kind of a rough start. The Tigers are down 1-0. They come back with a Javi double, Sawbones. Carp gets him in with a dong. We're up 2-1. They tie it 2-2. So that's now we're post All-Star break Tigers, if you're kind of tracking where I'm going through the season.
Yeah. I see where you're going.
And then we go to extras, and I didn't text you because it was late for everybody.
It was just,
we had early kids sports. You had early kids sports. No excuses. I watched the whole thing, but I just kind of turned off my text messaging. Is there anything more befitting of this season than TK being up there throwing?
Nothing could have fit this whole thing. This whole story had to end that way.
It had to.
And with general futility from the bats along the way. It was just so perfect. It was like, we can't plate a run to save our lives. You know, and the same one or two guys were kind of generating the offense. And then you'd get in position and you just couldn't. It was almost like we didn't have an approach. A lot of these hitters got up there flailing away, especially in the 11th, 12th, 13th, as the game started going on. It looked like it was people were in survival mode of some sort. And I started thinking to myself that you know, like I think Z-Mac got up there at some point in the latter innings and had an at-bat that some of these pitchers are really right over the heart of the plate with not drastic movement, but he just kind of looked exhausted. He looked exhausted with the whole thing. He just didn't have an answer at the plate. And I'm going, this is why Z-Mac is Z-Mac, and he's not an all-star every year. This is why he is who he is. And then I started thinking, like, we're going to see more of this in the next couple innings. And sure enough, Tommy Canley did Tommy Canley things.
I think you're picking on the wrong guy here, though, because
I could be. I mean, I could pick on almost any of these guys, right?
Well, the one that is immune to everything hitting-wise has to be Kerry Carpenter. He went 4 for 5 from the plate, and he had 2 walks. He only struck out once. He generated both runs in terms of 2 RBIs. He was
immune is a good way of putting it.
Okay, the rest of the roster had a disease or an ailment because Gleyber is done as far as I'm concerned. I pray the Tigers do not re-sign him into any capacity. And you want to know, hey, real quick, good news, Tiger fans. Guess what? Between his salary and Alex Cobb, you have $30 million more to spend next year.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing to look up and down these final stats for the division series.
He was like 0 for 6. Riley Green was 0 for 6. Spencer Torkelson was 0 for 6 with 4 Ks.
Yeah.
4 Ks.
Yeah, Spencer had a rough go.
Colt Keith, 0 for 5 with 3 Ks.
Yeah.
Zach McKinstry, I'm not saying he was good, but he was 1 for 6, which is good considering this abysmal lineup. Dylan Dingler, 2 for 6. Parker Meadows went 0 for 5. My prediction was 0 for 4, but I also didn't think he would. In our text exchange, remember I said, Meadows is starting instead of Jahmai Jones.
Yeah.
Here comes 0 and 4. Or 0 for
5.
Yeah.
Ks.
Well, I didn't know the game would go extra.
He didn't know it would go that long.
Yeah.
He had more opportunities to strike out.
And then my pick to click for the game was Javi, and he went 1 for 6. So, Chet, since the All-Star break, I know the pitching hasn't been great. This team going into next offseason, and we'll talk about who the stalwarts are going to be just briefly, who's under contract, who's arbitration eligible that they should settle, on something fair, meaning there's interest on both sides. This team needs 2 big boy at-bats. And I'm not talking about the Erie guys, Max Clark. They need like a real batter.
I think to compete in the regular season, they've got almost enough. But we have these expectations now of the postseason. What are you going to do when you get to the postseason? And it was more proof that we didn't have the hitters to go up against the good pitching. We didn't have guys who put at bats together. Now, you can look at the Mariners lineup, and they got some pretty big lemons up and down too from the division series. And couldn't handle our pitching as well either. But they had a couple guys that really shone through.
They have what the Guardians have. And I think this is relevant. Even though Stephen Kwan didn't have a really good wild card, he and Ramirez are the stalwarts of that lineup.
Yeah.
And the guys that you can kind of rely on to do something, they'll get a walk. They'll take a long at bat. They'll get on base. And I felt the same way with Raleigh. And then there were probably a couple Mariners that you could probably slot into that. Naylor, had a really good game last night.
Polanco seemed to kill us. JP Crawford.
Crawford. So where I'm saying that, like, we can't compare ourselves to the Guardians anymore. I know that's the team we need to beat in the division. But to your point, to go further, I think you and I are saying similar things in this, that we need 2 big boy at bats, meaning Riley Green, I think, can thrive between now and when he turns 27, 28. Yeah. But he has got to be protected better than the protection he's getting now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you look at a team like the Dodgers, you look at a team like the Yankees, you look at a team like the Mets, maybe even you look at a team like
the Blue Jays.
We could go to the Blue Jays. You could go to, well, I'm not even picking, I guess the Blue Jays aren't applicable to what I'm trying to get at here, but some of these teams, the Padres, they're building themselves for the postseason. They're building themselves to be a postseason team and win in the postseason. The idea is to get back to the World Series. They kind of know what they need for that to happen. Whereas then you've got the teams like the Tigers, the Indians, the competitive teams during the regular season, but they typically can't get past the division series, so they just don't have the horses. These other teams have the horses. And I'm wondering if we need to start thinking along the lines of, what do we have to do to win in the postseason? The scary part of that is You got to spend to do that, and I don't know that they're going to do this. I
Well,
just don't think they're going to. I think they're fine getting to the postseason. Maybe they get lucky and squeak into the ALCS. Maybe they pull a Tampa Bay Devil Rays back in circa whenever it was when Madden was their coach, get into the World Series.
2009.
2009. They just don't. They aren't building for that sustained postseason run year after year after year. It's almost like they're kind of just trying to slap it together and see if they can get in. And they're doing it because they've drafted well and they have this young talent, but they need those extra bats, like you say, to get them over the hump. And by the way, they don't just need bats. They need some pitching too, that's strikeout pitching.
Let's talk about that, because what I'd like to do is talk about who we know is coming back. The Tigers lost last night, 3-2, 15 innings. If you're a Tigers fan and you listen to this, I'm sure you stayed awake on a Friday evening, regardless of what you had going on this Saturday.
You should have.
And if you didn't, Google the highlights, record it on whatever streaming service you have. It was as fun could possibly be. And I think that's a great start for the Tigers after last year's surprise run to the playoffs. This year's really dominant, first half or first 100 games of baseball. More is needed. I agree with you on pitching. And it was so interesting having the crew they had in the booth last night. It was Adam Amin, who I respect immensely, but I think he spread himself too thin. He does Bulls games and a ton of NBA. He does a ton of college.
These guys are kind of doing these days. I mean,
he does a ton of college football, and he also does baseball. But when he does it, he's usually doing a day game for the White Sox type thing.
Sure.
He was out of his depth, and I'm giving this as a shout out to a lot of our loyal listeners. When they compared the Seattle reliever to Senior Smoke, I almost had an aneurysm because there is only one.
There is only one Senior
and his
Smoke.
Name is Aurelio Lopez.
And they kind of haphazardly threw that in there after they said it. They've been calling him this. Many announcers have been calling him this all season. They've stolen this nickname for him. And then they kind of haphazardly threw in, and there was another Senior Smoke, Aurelio Lopez from the 1984 Tigers. And I'm going, guys, you had to do better than that. And you can't take the nickname. Anyways, not to get hung up on that. But you think we need some strikeout guys, though, is what we're getting at. And they have them in Seattle. They had those types of power pitchers in their pen.
Yeah.
They rolled the same guys. Spear and Brash picked up. I felt like every game a starter would go, and then we'd see some combination of Spear, Spire, and Brash, and then Munoz. It was like boom, boom, boom. They had the lockdown ready to go. And it worked for the most part.
All right. So let's talk about next season, and here's why I'm not super optimistic unless some free agent signings do happen.
Sure.
I mean, it's going to be more of the same. You're going to have Carpenter in right field, Keith, I guess, at second base, but let's just say second base. Okay. Green in left field, Torque at first, Dingler at catcher. I've heard, even though he's not under contract, Vierling, you've heard the same thing. They want Matt Vierling back. He wants to come back. Okay. I'm penciling him in at third base unless they make a free agent acquisition. I've seen enough, and I've said this, but he's young and he's under contract. Parker Meadows will be your starting center fielder. And then until his contract ends, Javi Baez will be your shortstop. Bench is going to be Z-Mac. Justin Henry Malloy will be in the mix. I don't know if he'll make the 26-man or the 25-man or the 40-man. And then Andy Ibanez is a shoo-in for utility. That is your lineup right now.
So nothing's changing other than the second base Gleyber Torres slot.
You need 2 to 3 big-time at-bats to balance that out.
How are you going to do that? Because who are you benching? Parker? Meadows?
Parker could go and Vierling could go.
Are they going to be willing to bench Parker? Are they going to trade him?
I don't know.
Does he become a trade piece? I wonder if the trade market is where we're going to seek people. Or if they're just going to roll this out again and say everybody's a year older and we'll be that much better.
Please don't do that to me.
Well, this is what scares me, is this standing pat. We made the playoffs. This is my biggest problem with all this. You look at what we have. They've built a lot of this up through some of these players, these young guys. I mean, you've got to either get rid of some of them or you got to hope they get better and you keep them and you try to do the same thing all over again next season. I just don't see where you're going to have McGonigal's going to be up next season. He's going to play. I think he's going to play second base. So Glaber's taken care of. Glaber's gone. McGonigal's in. So insert McGonigal in there, which means you're going to have another young hitter in there who's going to have some youth, a little bit of, he may surprise us. We may not surprise us, but we may love what he's doing at times, but he's also going to have those youthful spurts of just garbage where he swings at everything or he's not patient. You're just going to have it. You're going to have growing pains. So I'm a little afraid of the fact that we are going to very much roll out the same lineup next year come game 1 after spring training. And maybe we're going to come back and talk about this in 4, 5, 6 months. But I am terrified of the fact that they're going to stand pat and they're good with what they got. You want 2 big bats. I don't see where they're coming from or where they're going to put them.
Okay.
Third base, maybe.
I think we're asking the wrong question. We don't have a DH in there. And the fact is, you and I both agree they need the bats. Where to put them is, I don't want to say inconsequential. Don't re-sign Matt Vierling. There
you go.
Know that ZMAC is what ZMAC is. And, you're paying him all the money in the world, Chris Ilitch. It doesn't mean you have to start Javi every day.
I think you're on to something there with the don't bring Vierling back. We have a lot of Vierling. We need more. I'm seeing a trade, a Parker Meadows or a Spencer Torkelson trade somewhere with someone. I could see that happening. And I hate to say it, my boy Torque, but he ain't hitting like a prototypical first baseman. We need a Pete Alonso over there. We don't need a Torque. And then you just start talking, well, will they pay for that? Are they going to pay for an Alonso? Are they going to pay for that level of first baseman?
Then we go to the other side of things, and this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Tarek Skubal's value will never be higher than it will be at the winter meetings in this offseason. The second he pitches for the Tigers next opening day, his value starts to decline.
Yeah.
Because you will be getting pennies on the dollar if you and Scott Boras can't figure out something, which I don't think that's going to happen. The Tigers have had every opportunity to do that. Apparently, they've made very fair offers and overtures, and it's being turned down because they being Skubal and Boras, want to go to the open market. So I don't know that it's in the Tigers' best interest to have him as the opening day starter.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know if he's going to win a second Cy Young here. Okay. I can't figure out who's going to beat him. And if he doesn't, he should have. So you look at that and you say, well, do we just keep him around for this final season, play it out? We're not going to get anything worth near his value.
Or your chances are what, 1 in 5 at the best to re-sign him?
1 in 5, maybe. Maybe they got a 20% chance of forking the cash
highest.
Out. Yeah. What the other thing I started thinking was, he pitched 2 games in this series for us. We didn't win either one of them. At the end of the day, the sum of the whole is more than the individual players that we have. We needed more to win those games than just a Tarek Skubal start. A Tarek Skubal start and a great lineup would have sealed the deal, yeah. But a Tarek Skubal start in the lineup we got isn't doing it. And I fear if we spent the money to sign him, that's what we would be living with for the rest of the time, So I just don't. If he can bring a bunch of prospects, if he can bring a bunch of players who are ready to play now that we have some control over, I think you got to trade him. But at the same time, who knows if that happens or not? I don't know if they're willing to go that route. They'll get skewered. The common fan will not be happy if Tarek Skubal is traded away before next season. I just don't see it being a good look, if you know what I mean.
So then the other thing is that Flaherty has his own option. He can opt out of the Tigers contract, which I think he pitched well enough to probably do so and get more on the open market.
Okay.
I know that's debatable.
I'm not going to lose any sleep over losing Flaherty. I mean.
But now you are looking at these gentlemen as your essentially starting pitchers for next year.
If Skubal's gone and Flaherty's gone is what you're saying. Or are you saying with Skubal even? Okay.
I mean, these guys are all part of it.
This is what you got left, yeah.
Yeah. So Casey Mize is under contract, will be there next year.
Yeah.
Reese Olson, let's hope he's healthy. He'll be there. Yeah. Paul Sewald is under contract for 2 more years. He will be there.
All right.
How you utilize him, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Urquidy,
Jose Urquidy.
yeah. Urquidy.
Okay,
yeah.
That's interesting because the Tigers control that option, so they can opt out of that.
Okay.
And then you've got Troy Melton, and that's kind of your starting pitchers as I see it. I'm not counting Jackson Jobe because I don't expect him back at any time next year. Am I missing anything on that?
No, I do think Troy Melton, I would love, actually, if we do keep Skubal, pairing Skubal and Melton as our 1-2 punch at the top of that starting rotation. I think Melton's got something. I think he could be a very, very good starter for us. I'm saying it all season, and I think everybody, on the broadcast last night, they made those exact same words. I think it was Adam Wainwright was like, can you imagine having a Skubal Melton 1-2? They might make a really good 1-2 punch. And I sat there and I was like, yep. Give me more of that. Mize, Reese Olson. I hope Reese is back. I'm thinking he should be for the start of next season based on what I was reading, but maybe he won't be back right at the start. Then you have Mize. You'll have Seawald in there somewhere. You got to find a fifth. That could be Kaider Montero for a while. We may see some combination of that. Maybe Flaherty does resign. Maybe Flaherty re-signing or picking us. I don't know. It's an option. So he may try to test his value on the market. Like I said, though, I'm not losing any sleep either way. I think we have people we can fill in there to do just fine without him. I don't know, Bill. I mean, this team still has a lot of needs. Isn't that odd that we can go to the ALDS, get to the 5th game, and we still have a ton of needs?
2 years in a row.
Crazy that we have so many needs yet.
And no. And so then the bullpen, really the only pieces that are under contract that I see being brought back are Tyler Holton, Brant Herter, Will Vest, Kyle Finnegan. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know what they're going to do with 2 guys. Bo Brisky is one.
Yeah.
And then Jason Foley's the other. I think it's both injury related.
Yeah.
But they're both under control as well. So when I look at it from a number standpoint, just the names we just talked about.
We have Finnegan for 1 more year before you go further. Is it just 1 more?
No, 2 more years.
2 more years.
So
okay,
next
so we got
year
Finnegan for a while.
And he's not expensive either. I think the Nationals signed him to a pretty good deal. Okay. I think it's like $5 million or something like that. So I feel good about all that in terms of who is signed. I look at it and I'm like, oh, there's 7 starting pitchers. Like, we have so much depth. And then you think about it and you're like, wait a second. Yeah. Like, is Melton, I think you and I would both love to be starter.
Yeah, he needs to be a starter.
No idea what Seawald is. Olson is great, but he's never healthy. Mize could be more consistent. And then Urquidy, like, who the heck knows? I mean,
who knows what's going to happen with him, right?
So, and then you lose Skubal, or you trade Skubal, you lose Flaherty, and all of a sudden, things aren't looking so hot.
Yep. You might have to keep Skubal around. I mean, you may not be able to trade him and put together a rotation. It depends on what you can get out on the market. That's still taking shape to one degree or another. I don't know, Bill. There seem to be a lot of needs. We have needs in the rotation. We have needs in the pen. We have needs in the lineup. Core positions. Like, we do need to get, I love Torque, but we do need to find somebody who consistently hits for more power to play that first base position. Colt Keith, is he the guy? I don't know. He's borderline for me, and he's been DHing a lot. So what do we do with Colt Keith? Do we put him back at first? Do we shift him to second? There's some questions there. I'd rather see him back playing his original position at second baseman because I don't think he's a prototypical first baseman. We may not get that prototypical first baseman. We may stand pat with one of those 2 guys. I think third base is an opportunity to upgrade there. I think we can go out and find a third baseman to upgrade that spot and get some power out of that spot. Outfield seems pretty set if Meadows stays in center. So we got a lot of needs and some interesting positional things to consider.
So last point before we kind of wrap up, 2026 season opens rough too. The Tigers open on the West Coast again.
Yeah.
3 in San Diego, 3 at Arizona. Then they come home for a weird 3-game set against the Cardinals. So 9 straight against the National League.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to the Twin Cities for 4 games and then come home to play the Marlins.
That 4 games against the Twins might be the respite they need after 9 against the National League.
Well, yeah, but like one's going to get rained out, one's going to get snowed out. I mean, Yeah. So the other part is I don't know that they're going to start super hot. So it could also be the time to somewhat hit reset. Maybe you go after one of the big free agents. Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman can opt out. We could give that another run. I don't know why we would. Corbin Burns, Walker Buehler.
So there's obviously going to be a lot of options on the free agent market to build this team up, but where do you fit them? Where do they fit in our payroll? Where do you fit them on the field based on some of the positional challenges we have? Bill, we're going to do another episode. We're going to cover all that, kind of do a wrap up on the 2025 season. We'll wrap it up in a nice little bow, nice little package for everybody. We'll preview 2026, and that'll be our sign off for the season. But everybody kind of just sit, let this 15-inning game marinate a little bit, and then forget about it and go watch some football. And we'll start talking about the future here in a couple weeks with our wrap up episode. Until then, enjoy your Lions football. Enjoy your college football on Saturdays, whomever you may be cheering for. And go Tigers. I don't know why I'd even say go Tigers. The season's over. Enjoy your off season. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of The Litter Box, a Detroit Tigers podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're Bill and Chet. We'll be back soon with more Tigers talk. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you got a minute, leave us a quick review. Till next time, go Tigers.